Lincoln Financial Field sucks. Annoying fans, a terrible location, nightmarish traffic, and what just is a really weird atmosphere to watch a football game hinder what could probably be a perfectly acceptable NFL experience. I'm Cheyenne Hollis, this is The Touchback, and today we are going to talk about why the Philadelphia Eagles home of Lincoln Financial Field is not very good. For starters, stop playing the Arby's song on third down.
Two of those things for just $6. Arby's, we have the meat.
Let's begin by going over some of the positives of Lincoln Financial Field. The stadium first opened in 2003 and certainly does not look its age. Much like Seahawks Stadium in Seattle, it still looks and feels relatively new. Unlike Seahawks Stadium, the home of the Eagles is in butt-F nowhere, South Philadelphia. So while Quest Field, CenturyLink Field,
Already said that.
Lumen Field blends in seamlessly with the SoDo neighborhood, Lincoln Financial Field sticks out like a sore thumb since the only thing around it are other stadiums and parking lots. This is akin to putting a fake plant in a room that doesn't have any windows. You just can't help but notice how off it looks. This really brings up something interesting about Lincoln Financial Field, because I believe if this were a downtown stadium surrounded by downtown elements, it would look pretty damn good. But just out in the middle of nowhere, it doesn't work. Yes, I understand the stadium's various architectural nods are to various aspects of Philadelphia. No, that does not mean it works. Say whatever you want to say about Veterans Stadium, but at least from the outside, it matched its surroundings. All of this talk about the Lincoln Financial Field exterior assumes you actually make it to the stadium to watch whatever game you're hoping to attend. This is not guaranteed given the absolutely terrible traffic and parking situation around the stadium. Here is my situation. I remember driving through Chester, Pennsylvania on my way up to see the Eagles play a Week 5 showdown against the Washington Commanders. We were passing through Chester roughly around 3.5 hours before kickoff. I remember thinking we were doing okay on time despite the stop and go traffic we were experiencing. Boy, could I have not been more wrong. For reference, Chester, Pennsylvania is roughly like a 20-minute drive away from Lincoln Financial Field in normal traffic conditions. It took us 3 freaking hours to get from Chester to a parking spot around Lincoln Financial Field on an Eagles game day. And that parking spot wasn't even a real parking spot. Here's what happened. We ended up in some shopping center parking lot, the shopping center where Chickies and Pete's is at. There are a few other businesses in this shopping center, and it's pretty clear that it's not for stadium parking. However, we just happened to be in the parking lot. Someone happened to be pulling out for whatever reason. I don't even know why someone was leaving a space here, but they were. We parked in it. I was convinced that our car was going to get towed or we were going to get a ridiculous game day ticket. For whatever reason, that didn't happen. So what did force us into such a desperate move, you might be asking? Obscene gridlock and what seems to be a farcical lack of parking. Not only are there seemingly little to no parking spaces available around Lincoln Financial Field for a football game, the just obscene amount of gridlock means you basically can't go anywhere to get to a parking space that doesn't even exist. On this occasion, there were literally thousands of other people trying to find a place to park, but they couldn't find that place to park because they were stuck in traffic, and they were stuck in traffic because there were no parking spaces. What is happening here? Sure, it's possible that we could have taken SEPTA or the local Philadelphia transit system to the game. That, though, is riddled with constant issues and delays of its own. Besides, locals don't even always understand how SEPTA works. People in San Francisco like to complain about just how bad BART is, but honestly, it ain't got nothing on SEPTA. All of this begs the question, How has this not been fixed? Lincoln Financial Field has been hosting Eagles games for 20 years now. This isn't a new problem. This isn't a problem that has just sprung up. This is something that has existed for 20 years, 2 decades. And yet they have done nothing to make this experience not absolutely awful. There has to be something that can be done. Build just parking garages for all I care. Do something. I have driven to games at Levi Stadium, AT&T Stadium, MetLife Stadium, SoFi Stadium, State Farm Stadium, Seahawks Stadium, the LA Memorial Coliseum, the Rose Bowl, among others. And while none of these experiences are great, you can at least easily get parking or take public transportation in an acceptable amount of time. You seemingly need 6 hours to get to Lincoln Financial Field if you want to make it for kickoff. That is ridiculous. I digress. Once inside Lincoln Financial Field, it's a fine NFL facility. Sure, seating is a little cramped, but the views are good throughout. There are a few standing room only areas around Lincoln Financial Field if you just want to roam or post up somewhere during the game that isn't in your seat. As for issues, look, there could be more bathrooms at Lincoln Financial Field. The concourses could be a little more expanded, but these are also issues that hamper many NFL stadiums that were built, between 1999 and 2008 or 2009. These are not exclusively Lincoln Financial Field problems, and by and large, it's pretty minimal complaints. As you are sitting and watching the game, and as it really starts to progress, the reality that is Philadelphia sports fan does start to sink in. Before I get any further into this section, I just want to preface it with this. I went into my first Philadelphia trip with a very positive outlook, with wanting to like it. As a 16-year-old in Sacramento, California, and a 17-year-old, I ended up getting super into ECW Extreme Championship Wrestling, which was shown on some random channel on over-the-air TV through syndication at Saturday night at midnight. The idea of the Philadelphia fan being a rabid hardcore fan, it kind of resonates with me even to this day. Second, I think 30 to 40% of the Philadelphia sports fans are cool. They're what you would expect. They're passionate, they're loud, they're a little angry, but they also know where the line is. There's a big difference between being annoying and being a nuisance, and I think for this 30 to 40%, they take pride in being annoying, and so be it. I'm not going to hate on that. That's because they also aren't going to do a bunch of stupid things or ruin the watching experience for anyone else in the stadium. That cannot be said for the other 60, 65, 70% of Philadelphia Eagles fans who are just an absolute menace, but not a menace in the way you might think, not in that aggressive, angry, going to punch you, going to fight you manner. They are a menace in the fact that they are just really selfish and pretty stupid. This can best be exemplified by the group of 4 individuals who were sitting in front of me on this NFL encounter. These freaking people, man. I don't even know why they wanted to be at the game in the first place. They basically spent the first 3.5 quarters getting pissed off at clear penalties against the Eagles, complaining about how the Eagles weren't scoring enough because they wanted to sing the stupid touchdown song, and secretly hitting a vape pen behind a 12-year-old's back. As absolutely annoying as all of that was, things took a hard left turn towards the end of the fourth quarter and into overtime. This is when apparently they texted, or they got a text, or they called someone, or whatever the case may be, from a friend who was also in the stadium watching the game. Armed with this information, their only goal became finding that person and waving at them. I shit you not. They spent 45 minutes looking around Financial Field, texting this person, also they could find them and wave at them from their seats. The only issue is that neither party seemed to have any idea of the basic section numbers or layout of Lincoln Financial Field. They could not locate one another. By the way, as they're busy scanning the stands trying to find this person to wave at, a massively entertaining game is playing out on the field. It's not like we're talking about a blowout where you just don't really care anymore. This game was hugely entertaining. There were 2 touchdowns in the final 2 minutes of the game. We went to overtime. It was an overtime game. It was that good. It was that exciting. You literally couldn't wish for a more entertaining football game to be at. Yet all these 4 people in front of me cared about was waving at their friend, despite the fact they had no idea, not even the slightest idea of where that person was in the stadium. Honestly, these folks could have left their seats, met up with this person they wanted to wave at anywhere in the stadium, said hello, done their wave, and gotten back in less time than it took for them to wave at the person, which they never ended up doing, by the way. I do want to highlight the fact that there were a few of those good Eagles fans nearby sort of pointing out and trying to shout these people down while they were doing their waving nonsense, but it didn't work. You can't stop stupid Eagles fans from going all Kanye on the world. Seriously, you can't tell these 60 to 70% of Philly fans anything. They'll be standing in places they shouldn't be standing. They'll be blocking exits. They'll be sitting in seats they shouldn't be sitting in. And if you ever try to ask them to not do that thing, they get super belligerent about it. All in all, I found Lincoln Financial Field to be an extremely frustrating place to watch an NFL game. It's an absolute right pain in the ass to get to, and once you're there, 2 out of every 3 fans is just going to be annoying in some way, shape, or form. That being said, the stadium itself, perfectly fine. I'm not going to sit there and say that there's anything flawed with Lincoln Financial Field itself. I don't think it looks particularly good for the location it's in, but there's not really a lot you can do about it. And once inside, it's about what you would expect from a football venue built in this time frame. It's good. There are some shortcomings, but it's really just, again, perfectly fine. Doesn't do any one thing amazing, but you get good sight lines. There aren't really bad seats. All of the other stuff is what you would expect it to be. Ultimately, it's really hard to justify going to a game at Lincoln Financial Field as a neutral fan unless you're just really into bad traffic or people not abiding by socially acceptable behavior. And I don't know why anyone would be into either one of those things, let alone both. Your best bet is to either head down I-95 to Baltimore or head up I-95 all the way to the Meadowlands, because M&T Bank Stadium and MetLife Stadium are far better places to watch the NFL. In the case of the latter, though, you should probably hope the Jets are playing. Thank you for watching, and if you are one of those 30 to 40% of Philly fans who aren't dumb and selfish, well, I apologize to you, and quite frankly, I'm sorry you have to deal with those folks on a regular basis. If you'd like to know more about various stadium trips I have taken over the years, check out the playlist in the upper right hand corner of your screen. Until next time, I'm Cheyenne Hollis. This is the Touchback, and hashtag take it out to the 25.